Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another, uh, episode or teaching of Rav Kook Yomi. This is the eighth session of Rav Kook Yomi and learning from this wonderful Sefer Orot. We're going to learn the first half of the seventh teaching from the Sefer Orot. We'll have to do this teaching in two sessions, just because of its length. And this teaching is a little bit different because today we're not really going to mention Eretz Israel. He does mention Eretz Israel eventually in the next paragraph of the teaching. But this teaching really is about letters and the spiritual meaning behind letters. So let's jump in. This teaching begins. Malaya hi nishama, or mal'a hi hanishama, otiot mleot or chayim. He says that the soul is filled with letters, and those letters are filled with the light of life. Now, what does he mean here, right? What's going on here? What do you mean letters are in the soul and that those letters are filled with light and light of life? What does that really mean here? I think in order to understand this, what he's trying to get at here, I believe, and of course that's only according to my humble opinion, but what is important to understand is the way Jewish mysticism looks at letters, and the way we're supposed to understand letters, not even before, even before the Kabbalah, but really also in the Midrash and the Gemara. There's really a special meaning behind letters. It is believed that, of course, the world was spoken into existence by God, as is recorded in the Torah. And so therefore, it was literally God speaking that actually created the world. And from that early understanding, we have this idea that really all of the world and everything that we see and experience really consists on an atomic level of letters, right? Letters that each make different sounds, right? And through those sounds and the combination of different sounds and letters brings existence into manifestation, right? So the letters, therefore, and specifically the 22 letters or sounds, right? The letters obviously connect to a specific sound that is made. That's why it's not really specifically Hebrew, but it's the 22 specific sounds that the Hebrew letters designate, are the building blocks of all of creation. Now, this might sound far-fetched to you. This might say, what are you talking about? The sound is, but this is actually one of the topics that modern physics and science is really looking into, right? The relationship between sound and sound waves and different sound waves and physical matter. And more, I believe scientists are seeing that there is a connection between these things. So the idea is shouldn't be so far-fetched than you might be thinking right now. Now, this is where the idea of the things like the golem and the Maharal of Prague and the creation of the golem came out, that it's believed that if we harness the power of the letters, right, and say them in a certain way, that we can actually create things, right? And this is the idea of, Kabbalah Masit, or practical Kabbalah. Now, I'm not as interested in that because, I'm not at that level, not at that madrega, obviously. But what I am interested in, very much so, is the theological meaning behind this and sort of what this means. In Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, it's really seen that the letters are vessels, right? They're vessels that hold within it what in Kabbalah is called orot or, right? It holds within it light. The vessel enables the light within to manifest in a certain way within the world and within physical creation. For example, if I put water into a glass that is tinted blue, the water will appear blue. If I put water that is tinted red in a vessel that's tinted red glass per se, then the water will look red, right? It's the same water, but it's in different vessels that make it appear differently. In the same way that is happening throughout creation all the time, God is bringing God's effulgence into this world, God's life force into this world, and that life force, that creative energy, that vitality of everything that divine energy cannot manifest in physical matter, what I mean by this is within time and space, right? Within a place of boundaries and limits, unless it's within a vessel of some sort that enables that to actually manifest within the physical world of Mitzvot, of existence, right? So these are usually called letters, or otiot in Kabbalah and in Jewish mysticism in general. And I think this is what Rav Kook is really tapping into, that our souls themselves are full of letters. Why? Because our souls are created things, right? They are, and quite literally, our souls are pieces of godliness or a reflection of godliness in itself, a particular expression of godliness, a unique expression of godliness of God that is truly infinite, but still a unique expression of godliness. That unique expression of godliness is expressed by the way of vessels, by the way of different letters, right? And he's saying the soul is full of letters, that each soul is unique and full of different letters that enables it to manifest the light, that Ora Chaim, right? That light of life within our own individuality, within our own souls. So that's on one foot, I'm standing on what he is saying, right? Meaning, I think if we were just to parse this down and sort of use simple language, our souls are filled with these light of life, right? God's vitality, because it's a nefesh elokam ma'al, it's a piece of divinity from above, but that these are expressed and made manifest to the world and given up a home by way of these otiot, by the way of these vessels, or by the way of these letters, these unique letters that are within our neshama. So he continues. Mleot dat v'ratzon. The soul is full of knowledge, and this is a specific knowledge. There's a lot of words for knowledge in Judaism, of course. We like knowledge a lot, so so there's many different words. So dea here, or da'a, really comes from the idea of dat, which in Jewish mysticism is understood as knowledge of connection, of deep connection to something, usually a connection between man and God, right? But a conscious connection between two different things is what dat is. For example, in modern Hebrew, if I say I know somebody, or an ani yodea mashu, right? Or I know mishu, if I know somebody, right? That actually is an expression of I've had sexual congress with that person. For example, Adam and Chava, when Adam knew Chava, that was, we usually say it's a euphemism for that Adam had sexual relationship with Eve, all right? But it actually is very literal. It really means that they knew each other. They really connected each other. It comes from the same Hebrew shorish, Hebrew root dat, or this deep connection. So that's the word that's being used here, right? The connection between two bodies. Mleot dea, right? So this light that fills with connection between, of course, God and man, right? That enables us to link up to God within our own souls. And also ratzon, or that will of God, the will of God, right? Within the light and expression of godliness is not some kind of blank palette, but rather it has content in itself. It has a will, right? Which of course is the will of the Torah. Mleot ruach habata umitziut malaya, right? It's full of the spirit of glancing, of seeing, and being able to see reality. It's full of this entire existence, right? That whole entire existence is within the soul, right? It enables us to see the world. He continues, Mizohar otiot achayut halalu mitmalot ziv achayim kol yeter hadargot asher lebinyan achayim. He says, from the luster of these letters, the life force that fills them up forms the spark of all life. It's the energy force of all life. And it fulfills, and it really is the fuel of all of the levels that we see that build up our life, all of the different levels of the reality. And I think levels here, it's important to really understand, what is he saying by levels? I think what he means here is all the different ways we experience reality, our emotional capacity, our seeing the world through an intellectual lens, seeing it through a pragmatic lens, through a world of action, right? All the different dimensions of reality, all the different ways of perceiving and all the different viewpoints that people have of the world and all the different lives they live. Those are all the different dargot of reality or levels of reality, right? The Ziva Chaim, this life force of God, fills and manifests all those things at every point. As we say in our prayers, Mechadesh b'chol yom tamid, that God is constantly renewing creation at every point. And so we see this here, that all of those levels, even the lowest of levels, is brought into fruition by God at every point through these letters. Asher lechol shidrot ratzon, through the whole spine of will, hadat va'mifal, both knowledge and that connection, as well as the manifestation of that light, l'ruach v'neshama, for the spirit and the soul, b'chol arachechem, all the different parts of our soul and all of the ways in which they express themselves, right? And this is important, right? We don't really have an independent manifestation source, right? We are, our very identities are a piece of God, are an expression of godliness. So although our identities might seem different one from the other in different people, right? They're all unique expressions of the one God, right? That all come through these letters, right? They're expressed through letters, right? That allows a message to be spoken. I just want to go into the letters just a little bit more here, right? For example, I might have something I want to say. It's in my mind, and I want to express it to somebody else. While the thought is in my mind, I can't express it to somebody else. If it never escapes my mind, I can never communicate it. I can never make it manifest. How do I make it manifest? I clothe the thought or the idea within letters that I speak, right? And through the combination of those letters, I'm able to express the light inside those letters. I'm able to express the message or the content within those letters. Therefore, it's letters which manifest ideas that are inside. They enable us to communicate and externalize internal things, right? Same thing here, right? God manifests what's internal to external through these spiritual letters that are filled within our soul. Does it make sense? Very, very important. It's something to chew on. I think for today, let's stop here. We'll take our time with this teaching because this is a new concepts, I think, for a lot of people. And we'll continue from this point tomorrow. Well, thank you so much, Bli Netter, of course, with God's help. Thank you so much for being here today and sticking on this journey with me. And let's always remember Eretz Yisrael for the good. Am Yisrael Chai, everybody. May the Jewish people always live and live through us. And until next time, we'll talk tomorrow, hopefully.